Hello, my name is Reagan Groton, and today I will be presenting on Henri Cartier-Bresson. He was born August 22, 1908, and lived until August 3, 2004. He was the creator of the decisive moment. To take a photograph is to align the head, the eye, and the heart. It's a way of life. Henri Cartier-Bresson. Henri Cartier-Bresson was born in Chanteloup, France. He was born amongst the elite French bourgeoisie referred to as the 200 families. He did not fit in amongst them and rebelled against the society completely and traveled the world to find his subjects and peers with common religious and political views. He did not have monotheistic views like the rest of France and believed that Buddhism held the truth. He spent 3 years as a prisoner of war by the Germans. He attempted to escape twice but was recaptured, succeeding on his third attempt. After the war, Cartier-Bresson returned to shoot a film dedicated to the release of French prisoners. Cartier-Bresson began his artistic journey as a passionate surrealist painter and drawer. He dedicated most of his time to photography, but eventually switched back to painting and drawing after 20 years of photography. He studied painting at André Lot's Academy in Montparnasse in 1927. He also did filmmaking, his most prominent being the film he shot in his former prison camp after the war with his previous fellow prisoners. Cartier-Bresson began his photographic career in 1931 with a miniature 35mm Leica camera. He preferred the Leica camera because of its portable and discreet qualities. He even painted it black to reduce the profile of the camera further. He preferred a rectangular ratio rather than the 1:1 square ratio. Cartier believed that a square frame did not emulate real life like a rectangle one would. Cartier referred to the difference between a large camera and a small one by referencing hunting. I use small cameras rather than large ones, just as a hunter does not carry a cannon to hunt. Henri Cartier-Bresson. This image, Behind the Gare Saint-Lazare by Henri Cartier-Bresson, opened up the conversation about the decisive moment in the photography world. He became a world-famous photojournalist because of this image in the 1930s due to his work capturing these decisive moments. This moment is the precise and methodical time shutter release used to capture the constant movement of the living world. This was also popular amongst street photographers. The styles and the methods of Cartier-Bresson were intentional ones. He described himself as a realist photographer, although at the beginning of his photographic journey in 1931, his photographs revealed his surrealist background and the influences of Cubism. All of his published work was intentionally in black and white, and he generally disapproved of cropping photographs, or rather, relying on cropping photographs. His most famous work, Figure 5, was indeed cropped, and he had been seen shooting in color film, but the results were never published. Cartier-Bresson was very serious about the candid quality of his photography. He not only didn't pose his subjects, but did not want them to notice him at all. Cartier had been known to give up on a shot completely if the subject had been disturbed and move on to a new subject. This is the reason for the black paint on his Leica. It was used to camouflage and increase the chances of a fully candid photograph. He also had a careful system for the background for his work. If the subject is a working person, he chose the background showing the work site. If the tool or object is the subject, the working person is the background. Henri Cartier-Bresson was very successful in his professional photography career. His first exhibition was at the Julian Levy Gallery in New York in 1933, 2 years after he began photography. He founded a major photography cooperative, Magnum Photos, alongside Robert Capa, George Roger, David Chim Seymour, and William Vandervert. He published his first book after extensive world travel in the East in 1952, titled Images à la Sauvette, published in English as The Decisive Moment. His work is exhibited worldwide in London, New York, Paris, Mexico City, Zurich, and Tokyo. Belonging in the collections of the Art Institute of Chicago, the Museum of Modern Art, the International Center of Photography, the Victoria and Albert Museum, and the J. Paul Getty Museum. Below is a general timeline of some of the major events and accomplishments in his professional career. In 1931, he began to use a camera, and his work reflected Cubist influences and revealed his surrealist background. In 1933, his first exhibition at the Julian Levy Gallery in New York. 1949, he was photographed China for almost a year, commissioned by an American newspaper called Life. 1952, his first book was published and was titled Images à la Sauvette, published in English as The Decisive Moment. 1954, Cartier was invited to the Soviet Union and published People of Moscow. This collection was highly praised by the Soviet newspapers, referring to him as among the best contemporary artists of the world. 1958, on July 20th, Cartier-Bresson photographed the construction site of the Shishsaling Reservoir. Chen Bo was appointed to accompany him by the Chinese Photography Association. In 1966, he left Magnum Photography and devoted himself primarily to drawing and painting. Below is a list of my written resources and a list of the figures in order from each slide.